So, would you consider a pill to stop you feeling lonely? Trials are already underway. The idea being that we treat loneliness in the same way that we treat depression or anxiety, and that is with medication. Some people aren't necessarily enamoured of the idea of treating something like this with a pill. What do you think?
I think it's a terrible idea. In fact, I go further and say it's an appalling idea. Because the largest group of people in society at the moment who are lonely are elderly people. Obviously, young people say they're lonely too in larger numbers than ever before. So I'm not completely ignoring that, and loneliness is a tremendous problem. As you get older, you are also taking a lot of other medication for long-term conditions like arthritis or sciatica or back pain, all these things. And, you know, just looking at my own relatives, once you get over a certain age, if you're on more than 3 or 4 pills a day already, and one of those might be a heavy painkiller like tramadol, which is now being prescribed in very worrying amounts for longer than ever before, the idea of popping another pill to perk you up and stop you feeling lonely fills me with horror. Because I do think, and I've written quite a lot about it, that loneliness is something that you have to acknowledge is happening to you. If you have a dysfunctional relationship with alcohol or with drugs, I think that, I'm not saying that loneliness is an addiction or like that, but it creeps up on you. And you have to acknowledge that it's happened. And personally, I would say, you have to make the first step, no matter how small that is, and you have to go and speak to someone, anyone, even someone in the newspaper shop or, you know, down at the corner shop. You have to get out if you can move.
I love you dearly. But, see, I think that it's very difficult for people who are lonely, and you're right, it's one of the biggest problems we have here in this country. I think if you're in that state, and maybe you don't, I've seen people, they haven't actually had a living person in their house to talk to for maybe 2 weeks, which is, to use your word, appalling. So I think that sometimes those people are incapable of making that first step. I think it's up to us, whether it's our relative or our grandmother or grandfather, your neighbour, anything. I think it's up to us. See, the communities have all dispersed now. It used to be that my granny lived down the road and my Aunt Myrtle lived across there. And we sort of never were lonely, really. And they were never lonely because there were people always around. So I think that it's up to us, really, to make the first move if we know that a neighbour's lonely. And I think I'm with you in terms of the pill. The pill will never replace real people saying, let's have a cup of tea and a bit of a natter and a bit of a gossip. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
That's so lovely.
I think obviously it's a sweeping generalisation to say it's a pill for loneliness and it'll stop you feeling lonely. What's interesting is how this has come about. Was a scientist is basically looking into exactly what loneliness is, and this lady Stephanie I'm going to have my glasses on. I can't see what her name is. Stephanie. That's there. And she said it's a result of biological signals that push us to reach out to others, interacting with a dysfunctional mind that perceives social danger everywhere. So it starts off as an emotional thing and becomes a physical and a biological thing. So in a way, it's a medical intervention to try and stop to get over that hurdle, if you like.
But then I'll give you a different scenario, going back to the height of the Troubles, bombs, bullets, barricades in Northern Ireland, up the Falls and Shankill Road. They dished out Valium to keep everybody calm and to make them feel better. It's roughly the same thing, but in the end, it was a huge problem for people trying to get off it.
But why is it happening? Like, I think there's a real breakdown of community and people. We see so many sad people, and suicide rates are at the highest ever. We see sadness, and we never think when we see someone who looks lonely to say, how are you? There's this real thing. I get on the tube in London and no one's communicating. Everyone's just got in their own lane.
Well, that's because they're on their phones.
Yeah, that's it,
I mean, I can travel quite happily on the London Underground at any time and not be bothered because, quite frankly, their eyes are not off the screens in front of them. Occasionally, someone will come up and tap me on the arm and I'll obviously recoil before I put my face in smiley face mode. But most people are locked into this world and don't see anything else.
And also, as well, I think we expect other people to do it. I did it this morning. I was in a different. I'd gone to the gym before I came into work, and I was in the lift, and there was a problem, and we all ended up we're on the wrong floor. And it's a long, very boring story, which I could regale you with. But I ended up having a laugh with the people in the lift, but actually everyone was just looking down, and no one was interacting, and this sort of thing. And sometimes all it takes is one person to break that ice. I know for myself, when I'm feeling, I suffer from anxiety, and when I'm in that mode, there's no way I could speak to anyone. So I force myself. I literally write a list of things I need to do, and one of those things is I'm going to speak to 3 people today. And that sort of breaks me out of it. And it's interesting that we've talked about loneliness in the elderly generation, but we've had some really moving emails come in. Bex has said, I'm a single mum to 2 and I feel very lonely. I don't have a lot of friends that are free in the daytime to meet up. When the kids are in bed, I go to bed too, because I can't stand the silence of being alone.
That's sad.
Which is sad. And this one here, Jane has said, this is to do with taking the pill, and we did a poll on it. Would you take a pill to stop you feeling lonely? 64% said no, they wouldn't. But Jane said, yes, I would, 100%. I lost my husband almost 11 months ago. The loneliness is a killer. Even when filled with a room full of people, and that's the thing, I've never felt so devastatingly lonely. And and I know this from when you're in an unhappy relationship, an unhappy marriage. It's not necessarily the amount of people that you're surrounded by. Loneliness can get you at any time.
But I do think the key to it all is conversation. And like your story about the lift, and you writing a list saying I have to talk to 3 people. I mean, I did that myself about 2 years ago. I thought, I'm not talking to anybody I don't pay or I don't have to work with. And so I started that, and now I can do it. I can manage to talk to people I don't know already, and I've had to learn it because everybody goes into
And
the
if you live in
right.
Northern Ireland, people never shut up. They talk to you.